So, today I wanted to talk about what I refer to as spiritual mastery. So, spiritual mastery is essentially the stage that your soul will inevitably get to, through lifetimes, past lives, what's it called? Reincarnation, that sort of thing. Eventually, that's what your soul is here to do. It is here to become a master of itself. It does that through its experiences. It does that through its lifetimes, through all the things that you go through in this life or the next or your previous lives, etc., etc. But anyway, that is the goal for your spirit to go from novice to master. So, what is spiritual mastery? First of all, if we're just going to refer to our current lives that we're living, a lot of people have the idea that to become a spiritual master or to master the spirit, that you have to be, you know, detached from everything. You have to be, like a monk or something like that. That's not true. Spiritual mastery is not being detached. It is simply the acceptance of all in any circumstances, whether they happen to you or someone else. It is simply looking through the lens of what we call life without any judgment, without any bias, without any preconceptions or your own personal flavor put onto the experiences that you're experiencing. Spiritual mastery, once again, I will say it is not being detached from anything. It is simply experiencing the experience for what it is without judgment, without bias, without any, what are they called? Filters put on top of it. You're just simply taking these things for what they are as an experience that you're having without being judgmental, without having bias, without bitterness, without resentment, without putting anything on top of it. You're just simply taking it raw and accepting whatever happens to you. So basically, all of us, the spirits, even the animals, even the plants, spirits enjoy a challenge. What we see in our lives as hardships, your soul or spirit essentially sees it as the ultimate thrill. A spirit can only be challenged by being vulnerable. The only way you can be vulnerable is by being mortal. The only way you can be mortal as a spirit is to be in a physical body like the ones that we have now. Spirits see all of this, everything that happens, good or bad, as a challenge. What we see is terrible atrocities or hardships or, whatever, this, that, blah, blah. The spirit is like eating it up because that's the only way it can do anything. As a spirit, you can't be anything other than perfect all the time, forever, eternally. What other way is there to be? As a human being, or any being, as a dog, as a cat, as a plant, you can experience physicality. You can go through things that you wouldn't normally be able to go through because you're not stuck in this perfect form. But anyway, I'm getting off tangent. So, like I mentioned, spirits are perfect. They are the perfect entity, the ultimately evolved being. And because of that, spirits can't evolve because they're already at their peak. There's nowhere else for them to go. They can't go upwards because they're already there. So the only way for a spirit to experience anything other than just perfection 24/7, which inevitably gets boring, which is why all this exists, is, we're just going to refer to humans, is for you, your spirit, to join with a human body or anybody. But you know what I mean. We're not talking about aliens. We're not talking about the grasshoppers. We're just going to talk about people. We won't go off tangent too hard. But the pinnacle of evolution for a spirit is already achieved. That gets boring. There's nothing else to do. So the only way for that spirit to feel anything, to experience anything, to achieve anything is to become less than perfect. What's less than perfect? Humans by far. So they giddy on up, they go down to the material world and they plop themselves in a body to experience these things. And the good thing about that is that a spirit joined with a physical body does not lose its unlimitedness. It just simply changes form. You have limitless potential now as a human being to improve upwards. So you essentially, as a spirit, you start out as an unlimited being, which, there isn't a whole lot to it. You're unlimited. Nothing hurts you, nothing challenges you, etc., etc., etc. You just exist perfectly all the time. It gets boring. But joining with a physical body, unlimited now changes into limitless, which is a very different thing. You start at a level, but you have an infinite amount of potential to grow up through the current life you're living, through your previous lives, through your future lives, through the reincarnation cycle, if you believe in such things. Your spirit is allowed to express its unlimited potential endlessly, which is way better than just being unlimited. Being unlimited, you're like that all the time. But being limitless is so much more fun for a spirit, so much more fulfilling, because each time something is reached, it simply has another level to go up to. You just go further and further and further and further and further and further and further up. It's like a ride that never ends. It just constantly peaks all the time. So that's why, we experience the things we experience, good or bad, because it's fun to souls, to spirits, to creatures that we really are on the inside, or even on the outside if you believe in auras and stuff like that. But I'm getting a little off tangent. Spiritual mastery. Being a master is simply a student who is always learning. Spiritual mastery is essentially the constant one-upping of your previous self. Becoming a master is you saying, I am better, more evolved than the previous form that my body and soul were at. Through the experiences, through the events, through the circumstances that have happened in your life, when you overcome them, the version of you that is currently standing can be said to be more evolved. And that is essentially what you are doing. You are a student. You will always be a student. You are just a better student than you were. And that is the only thing that a master is. A master is just simply a student who has learned an immense amount. And you can probably teach someone else, but there is always still more for you to know. And that is spiritual mastery. It is not a thing that just stops. It's not something that has an end point. It's not something that just reaches some kind of climax and then you're done. No, it's an ongoing thing. And mastery is just simply the understanding of that process and the application of the experiences that you learned into new experiences. Like the application of going through experience A, gleaning what you gleaned from it, and applying that knowledge to experience B in the future without judgment or bias. That is spiritual mastery. So, it's not something that is obtained. Spiritual mastery is not given, it is experienced. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but only experience allows you to truly know. So, yeah. Another thing, if spiritual mastery is something that you're seeking, or maybe not even mastery, just more spiritual insight, you have to remember, your spirit, your soul, whatever you want to call it, it's unconcerned with material stuff, unconcerned with material matters. This is all just a game to it. It's just a playing around. These things don't really have any weight. So if wanting to connect more with your spirit, with your soul, is something that you truly are passionate about, something that you really genuinely want to, take a stake in and put more effort into, it requires you to essentially silence the outer world, to silence your brain chatter, to let go of the physical things in front of you and to simply exist in the mind space or soul space and just start to feel that energy. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but it's true. Souls, spirits, at least in my own personal belief and experience, I think they are real. It's a very real thing, and I think a lot of people don't talk about it. But if you're watching this video, you probably are kind of into that anyway, so I don't really need to explain it to you. But if it's something you truly want to know, something you truly want to connect with, you are going to have to silence the outer world. You can't really be concerned about the physical manifestations that's going on out here and the very, very quiet internal things that your soul is constantly talking about. One will get overshadowed. You can't listen acutely to what your soul is trying to tell you while all this other loud material stuff is going on. You have to make a choice. And, of course, for me, the choice, I wanted to hear the spirit. I wanted to hear what it was telling me because clearly that's some important ish to say. It's been definitely yapping at me lately, and I'm pretty grateful. But anyway, that's more or less it for the video. But I just wanted to really get this out there because I felt like it was really important. And I think spiritual mastery is something that isn't for everyone. And I don't think that every soul is exactly seeking to be a master of itself. There are some souls that are simply here to just exist. They're here just to, mess around and play and blah, blah, blah. But I think there are some souls that are here for more specific, more demanding purposes. And I think for those people, it's a lot more important to be able to hear what your soul is actually saying. There are souls that come down here just for the heck of it. They have fun, they chill, they do whatever. And I think there are souls that come down here for a reason. And those souls tend to usually make their presence known, one way or another through your life. I think if you're one of those souls who's here for a reason or if you're here for fun. And if you're here for fun, do whatever you're gonna do. If you disregard the video, who cares? But if you feel like you're one of those souls that are here for a reason, then you probably want to achieve mastery. And mastery is achieved through being detached from your situation, recognizing that everything that happens for a reason, and just simply silencing the outer world so that you can glean more insight from your spirit. And that's about it. It went off a little bit on the tangent, but I tried to keep it a little bit more delegated. But yeah, that's basically all I had to say. I just want to get that out there. As always, comment down below. Like the video if you liked it. Dislike it if you didn't like it. We can chat it up in the comments. I love replying. I love hearing other ideas. And just take care of yourselves out there and just, always have that self-love in your heart. And that's it. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.